whatever is available on this earth, we depend on it. So those materials that we depend on, they are called as the land resources. So land resources are mainly used for building houses, for constructing roads and railways. Large portions of land are rendered degraded due to over exploitation. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to today's session on Environmental Studies for second semester BCom. I'm Dr. Divya, Environmental Studies faculty, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So we shall study with Unit 3, that is Natural Resources, Renewable and Non-Renewable Resources. So in today's session, let us discuss about the land resources, the land use, and because of the land use, how the land has changed over a period of time. So to begin with, let us study about land resources. So all types of land forms on which human beings depend for their livelihood, they are called as the land resources, be it the renewable or be it the non-renewable resources. So the renewable resources are the ones that gets renewed. That is, they will never get depleted from the earth's surface, because once they become less in quantity, again they can renew back. So they are the renewable resources. For example, plants, we can grow back the plants, right? Therefore, they are the renewable resources. And also we human beings, we depend on the non-renewable resources. For example, the fossil fuels, that is the petrol and the diesel, that is needed for transportation purposes, right? But they are the non-renewable resources because once they get depleted or once they get emptied from the earth, it is not possible to get them back, or if we need them back, again it will take thousands to thousands of years to get replenished. So that is the reason. So we human beings, for our livelihood, whatever is available on this earth, we depend on it. So those materials that we depend on, they are called as the land resources. For example, we depend on the materials that are got from the hills, the valley, the plain, river basin, etc. And land resources, it is a renewable resource if we utilize it cautiously. Again here, the land resource, be it the hills, the lakes, the banks of the lakes, the rivers or the plains, the valleys, all that, if we use them cautiously, then we can consider it to be a renewable resource. But because of the increasing human population and because of a greed, if we exploit the land resources to a great extent, then they can become a non-renewable resource. So, land resource is a renewable resource only if we utilize it cautiously. But it is not infinite, meaning it can get over any day. That is true, right? Because the earth contains water as well as land, and in that humans can make use of land for their survival, but not the water, that is the oceans and the seas. We cannot build anything on them, right? We cannot grow agriculture on them. So therefore, we need to depend on the land. So that small availability of land, and that too in the land, can we utilize the hills and all that for agricultural purposes, for construction purposes and all that? No, we need to depend on a plain area for construction purposes. And if we need to go in for agriculture, we need to depend on an area that is having good quality or fertile soil. So therefore, that availability of that particular area which is of use for human beings is very, very less. And that very less resource, if we use it cautiously, then it will become renewable. But it is not infinite, because if you don't use them cautiously, there are chances that they can get depleted. So that is the reason. Infinite, as limited land resources are available for direct human use. Say for example, the topsoil or the uppermost portion of the earth's crust, it actually forms the useful land resources. So we may have amount of land that is available, but can all that area of land be used? No, only those area of lands which are having good conditions, which are having good topsoil, good fertile soil, only those can be used, and rest of the land cannot be used for human purpose. So that is why we need to make use of the land resources very, very cautiously. So next, talking about the uses of land resources. So land resources are mainly used for building houses, for constructing roads and railways, because can you build a house on the water resource? Not possible. We need a solid land surface that is needed for all the building of houses, the construction of the roads, the railways, etc. For all the infrastructure development, land is the one that is needed. And also for installing industries, land is needed. And in order to develop the towns and cities, also land is very, very important. And not just that, land is very important for cultivating food and fodder for humans and the livestock. So when I say livestock, it means the cattle and all that. So maybe we can use a unfertile land or a rocky plain for building houses and all that, for construction purpose. But for agriculture, we always need to depend on land that is having a good topsoil, which is very, very fertile. So for cultivating food also, land is very, very important. And land is also important for producing raw materials for industries. Say for example, there is a fabric industry. So for a fabric industry, you need to grow cotton. So how can you grow cotton? For that you need land, right? So that is how. Or you have a jute, that is rope making industry. For that you need jute. For that you need to grow jute on the land itself. So therefore, the production of raw materials for different industry depends on the land resources. And not just that, land resources are needed for raising forests and also for raising woodlands that are needed for industrial purposes, like paper industry. How do we get paper? We get it from the softwood trees, right? So if you need to grow a large scale amount of softwood trees for the paper industry, land is needed to raise forests, and also it is needed to raise woodlands for industrial purposes. And not just that, land is also needed to dump the waste that is generated during domestic and industrial process, because most of the waste tend to degrade. The ones that are biodegradable can easily get degraded on the land. So therefore, for dumping the waste also, land is needed. So these are the uses of land resources. Next, let's talk about what are the threats or what are the problems that are caused for the land resources. So, illogical use of land has led to faster erosion rate and slow renewal rate. The population of the world is increasing drastically, and as and when the population increases, the number of houses that come up increases, the number of vehicles that come up increases. So when the number of vehicles that come up increases, you need good amounts of roads that need to be set up. And in order to fulfill the feeding habits of the population, a large amount of fields have to be set up, or a large amount of areas should be converted into agricultural land. So the whole land area, if you start converting it or for the purpose of human beings, then where will the forest remain, right? So that is why illogical use of land can always lead to erosion rate. So what happens? You will start cutting down the forest. You will go in for deforestation, wherein you'll start cutting down the forest, clearing the forest in order to convert it into agricultural fields, in order to build roads, in order to build houses, or in order to make some settlements, industrial development and all that, right? So do you think that the industries, the houses, the roads and all that you build can prevent soil erosion? So what is soil erosion? Soil erosion is nothing but the movement of or the loss of the upper fertile layer of the soil because of the loosening of the soil due to human activities. So when you do all this construction work and all that, it will loosen the topsoil. So when the topsoil just erodes off, what will remain? The layers of the soil will remain, which is not good for cultivation and all that. And not just that, the clearing of forest for this particular purpose, because of the growing population, will start clearing the forest. So therefore, forests are very, very important. Especially plants and trees are very, very important, because their roots, they tend to hold the soil quite firmly, therefore preventing soil erosion. So when no forests are there, it will lead to a lot of soil erosion. And also it is said that for the soil to renew, back or to become fertile again, it will take thousands to thousands of years. So therefore, soil becomes a non-renewable resource. Actually, soil is a renewable resource, right? Why? Everywhere you see, you can find soil. But I told you the land resources, they are renewable, but if we don't use them correctly, they very soon they can become non-renewable. Just like that, soil is one of the important components of the land resource. If we don't use the land resource cautiously, then the soil can become a non-renewable resource very, very soon. And it is said that 200 to 1000 years are needed for the formation of 1 inch of soil. Imagine if soil erodes, there the fertility of the soil will be lost. You cannot grow anything properly. If you can't grow agricultural products also there properly, then how can you feed the country? How can you feed the growing population? It's not possible, right? So we need to make use of the land. Now you can ask me, how can we actually safeguard the land resources? It is always, we have to make sure that when we are building something, we are building it on a wasteland and never ever touch an agricultural land or a fertile land for building purposes, because those lands should be meant only for agricultural purposes. Otherwise, the population will be put in hunger. So that is why we need to be very, very careful. And as I told you, it takes 200 to 1000 years for 1 inch of soil to form. So imagine, can we wait until then? Where will we grow our food? Of course, hydroponic techniques, various techniques are available nowadays, but majority we cannot, on a large scale, we cannot depend entirely on that. Soil is one of the natural resources that we have to depend for a food purpose at least. So that is why we need to make use of the, we need to use the land resources cautiously. So these are the threats for the land resources. Land is used for residential purposes, that is to build houses, and land is used for recreational purposes, that is to build water parks, to build gardens, to build for public recreation. For all that purpose, land is used. Land is used for commercial purposes, to build industries and all that. Land is used for industrial purpose in particular, and land is also used for transportation in order to build roads so that easy movement or commuting from one place to another can happen very easily. And continuous land use has a great impact on the natural resources such as water, soil, nutrients, plants and animals. Here, if we don't use the land cautiously, we all know that in major cities, what happens? The lakes, because of the unavailability of proper land for housing purpose and all that, illegally the lakes will be converted into land. So there we are depleting the available water resources, right? So if we deplete the water resource, then the soil will also get affected. Not just that, for constructing industries and all that, roads and all that, we cut down a lot of trees, and that results in a lot of soil erosion, and therefore this soil erosion, it will lead to depletion in the nutrient quality of the soil, or the quantity of nutrients in the topsoil, and therefore the plants will get affected. If the plants get affected, obviously the animals will also get affected, because they will not have enough amount of food, especially the herbivores. So if the herbivores are affected, obviously the carnivores also get affected. So this is how each one of the natural resources, their survival actually depends on the land, how exactly we use the land. So this is about land use. So how exactly human beings use the land is nothing but land expanding. So based on how we are using the land, we are using the land for various purposes. Why are we using the land for various purposes? Why are we illogically using the land? Because of growing population, obviously. So that is why, as a result of land use actually, or illogical use of land, agricultural lands are expanding. More and more land has been brought under industrial or urban setup. So lands are getting converted into industrial or urban setup. So earlier there was a forest area there. So what was the landscape? Beautiful forest area was the landscape, right? But because of land use, improper use of land by human beings, that forest landscape got converted into an industrial landscape. So that is nothing but land use change because of the benefits that human beings need. For that purpose, they are misusing the lands for various reasons. Next, forest lands, grasslands and wetlands, they have been cleared or completely removed of their natural cover. So, forest lands have been converted into lands which can be used for transportation purposes, for industrial purposes, various construction purposes. Grasslands have also been converted to various purposes for agricultural purposes, etc. And wetlands have also been converted so that the wetlands can be used for constructing houses and all that. Paddy fields and all that are one of the best examples for wetlands. But nowadays, rarely find paddy fields, right? Why? Because the paddy fields are getting converted into lands so that houses and industries can be built on that. So all this, when you commute daily from one place to another, these are the things that you come across. So how human beings are exploiting the land, causing land use change. And large portions of land are rendered degraded due to over exploitation. So there are large portions of lands that are not there nowadays because of construction of roads, because of buildings, development of towns, cities and all that. So improper usage of land has led to the degradation of the land as well. And not just that, soil that is there is dumped with various kinds of waste and toxic materials, because we know that land, one of the uses of land is to dump the waste materials, right? And therefore that creates a lot of problem and imbalance in the ecosystem as well, overall altering the complete landscape. So these are the results or impacts of land use change. Next, let's talk about land degradation. What is land degradation? So, any change in the land that reduces the condition or quality and hence the productivity or productive potential of the land is called as land degradation. Say for example, there is an agricultural land nearby and there is an industry set nearby on the same land. But that farmer earlier, he could grow good quality of crops before the industry was set up. But once the industry came up there, the soil got polluted and a lot of reasons resulted in the improper growth of the crops and therefore poor quality of the crops. Now the land use has changed, the quality of the land has changed, right? That is nothing but land degradation. So any change that occurs in the land which results in the change in the quality or condition of that particular land is called as land degradation. So what are the factors that are responsible for land degradation? Let us look into. So few of the factors have been mentioned here. They are dumping of harmful waste on the land. So industries, households and all that, what we do, along with the biodegradable waste, all the non-biodegradable waste are also dumped into the land. These non-biodegradable waste release a lot of toxic chemicals into the land, which actually causes the death of the microbes, useful microbes that are there in the soil. And these microbes are very, very important to maintain the fertility of the soil. So, therefore, the death of the microbes will reduce the fertility of the soil and the soil will lose its fertility. Therefore, it cannot be used for agricultural purposes or growing any plants, trees, etc. Therefore, dumping of harmful waste on the land causes land degradation. Next is over-irrigation of farmland that leads to salinization. So, over-irrigation. So, as and when the number of farmlands are there, say for example, you are making paddy fields, you're converting a land into paddy fields. So, paddy fields, we all know that it should always be waterlogged, but that also changes the land quality because keeping the land waterlogged for a long time can increase the salinity of that particular land. So, that is how over-irrigation of farmland can lead to salinization and pollution of land due to use of fertilizers and pesticides. So not just that, land degradation can occur because of the pollution that is caused to the land. How is pollution caused? As and when the agriculture sectors expand or the agricultural land expands, and in order to improve the economy of the farmer, he tries to buy chemical fertilizers, pesticides and all that from the market, and he will start using them on the land. Obviously, they will give him good results and good money at the end, right? But on the other hand, it will cause pollution to the land, therefore resulting in land degradation and also unsuitable land use. That is, the land will become unsuitable for use as well because it would have lost all its natural fertility. Next is land degradation caused, that is nothing but land erosion and landslides. So land erosion and landslides also causes land degradation. So here landslides, we all have heard about landslides both in the southern parts of India as well as the northern, wherein because of the cutting or improper use of the land, the soil of the hill becomes loosened, and whenever there is heavy rain, they will just come sweeping down, right? That is nothing but soil erosion and landslides. So soil erosion and landslides will remove the fertile property of the soil and therefore make it unsuitable for the growth of the plants next time. And also I told you again, to get the soil back, to replenish the soil back or to improve the fertility of the soil, for 1 inch of soil to be formed back again, it will take 200 to thousands of years, right? So that is how soil erosion and landslides can also cause land degradation. And some of the wrong agricultural practices such as tilling. So what they do in tilling is mainly done in order to remove the weeds. So they'll just till the soil, or they will use some equipments wherein they will make the soil upside down. So when they make the soil upside down, what happens? The soil will get exposed to the sunlight, therefore it will become dry, and that dry nature of the soil will cause death of the microbes, and if the microbes die, the fertility of the soil will be lost. So therefore, wrong agricultural practices or continuous growth of crops. We should not grow crops continuously. We have to either go in for mixed cropping, wherein one season we need to grow one kind of crop, the other season we need to grow another kind of crop so that the soil replenishes, or we need to give at least few months of gap so that the soil replenishes. But continuous growing of crops and other wrong agricultural practices also have led to land degradation. Next important factor is deforestation. So deforestation has also led to land degradation. So deforestation is mainly because of human purposes, right? For industrial purpose, for agricultural purpose and all that, forests are cleared. So when forests are cleared, if deforestation is done, obviously it will lead to soil erosion, it will lead to landslides, it will alter the water table, their underground water table, and therefore leading to land degradation. These are some of the important factors that are responsible for the degradation of land. So in this particularly, the causes for land degradation, so let's study about deforestation, because deforestation is the one that has been particularly mentioned in your syllabus. So there are various causes for land degradation such as deforestation, overgrazing, agriculture, industrialization. So they have divided into different sectors here. I've explained it in the form of points. Here I've just written what are the causes, like a side heading. So deforestation is one of the cause. So under deforestation, how exactly land degradation occurs? So overgrazing, how overgrazing exactly causes land degradation? Agriculture, industrialization, how these causes land degradation. So talking about deforestation, we'll study deforestation in particular in the coming session, because you have a topic in a syllabus wherein they have mentioned the causes and impacts of deforestation. So there we will study about this in detail. Next, talking about overgrazing. So deforestation is nothing but the cutting of trees by human beings in order to clear the forest so that industries, transportation, houses, etc. can be set up there. So therefore, deforestation degrades the land. It causes land degradation. Overgrazing. So Dairy farm is one of the biggest sectors, agricultural sectors that is there nowadays, and it's fetching a lot of money to the people. So therefore, what these people do is they clear the forest and they convert it into a grassland, or the available grassland that is there, they feed their cows there continuously, therefore causing the loss of the grassland or causing complete depletion of the grasses there. And grasses are also very important in holding the soil firmly and to prevent soil erosion. Therefore, overgrazing can result in soil erosion, therefore degradation of the land. Next is agriculture. As I told you, improper agricultural practices, that are the use of pesticides, insecticides, chemical fertilizers, all these also causes land degradation. Not just that, industrialization. And when talking about agriculture, the best example I can take of is Amazon forest. It is said that Amazon forest, a part of Amazon forest has been cleared in order to grow corn or oats and all that, especially for agricultural purposes. So therefore, agriculture is also one of the reasons that is leading to land degradation. If we don't control the population, in order to feed the population, we'll have to convert the forest into we have to convert the forest into land, therefore leading to land degradation. Next is industrialization. As and when the population increases, the demand of the people for goods also tends to increase. And to fulfill that demand, a lot of industries will be set up. So, and not just that, to improve the economy of the country also, a lot of industries will be set up. So, these industries, they dump waste into the land improperly, and not just that, they also pollute the nearby fertile lands and all that are there, leading to land degradation. So these are the 4 reasons. Under that, as I told you, deforestation in detail we will study in the coming session. Next, talking about soil erosion. So many times we heard of the word soil erosion, because at the end of the day, all these development of industries, improper agricultural practices, deforestation, all these will lead to soil erosion. So what is the soil erosion exactly? So soil erosion is nothing but a naturally occurring process that affects all landforms. And soil erosion is a very slow and gradual process wherein the movement and transport of upper layer of the soil, that is the top soil, will start to erode. It will start to move. It will start to get vanished from the surface of the earth by different agents such as water and wind. Trees actually act as windbreakers, right? So that is why in some of the agricultural farmlands wherein they grow some tall crops, they put trees as a border so that the trees will cut the wind, and when there is heavy winds, because the trees will be cutting the wind, or trees will be cutting the intensity of the wind, the crops will not just fall off. Same thing happens here. The trees actually cut the wind. So when they cut the wind, what happens? The soil will not get washed off very easily. And not just that, the trees also, they hold the soil very, very firmly. So when they hold the soil firmly, even if high amounts of water is flowing also, the soil will not get washed off, or it will not get eroded. So therefore, soil erosion is nothing but the gradual movement of the topsoil, or the washing away of the topsoil because of some natural agents such as water and wind. And land degradation always leads to soil erosion. So that is why we need to know about this particular term. Next, let's look into what are the causes of soil erosion. So mining is one of the causes of soil erosion. So what is mining? Extraction of minerals, metals, all that from the earth's crust, earth's surface, right? So this mining, during mining, a lot of heavy equipments are used for drilling the soil and all that. That will lead to land degradation and therefore soil erosion. It will loosen the soil, therefore leading to soil erosion. You might have seen in some of the mining sites where trees will completely vanish from there because the soil would have become loosened because of the use of heavy drilling machines and all that for mining purpose. So mining is one of the causes for soil erosion. Next is deforestation. So cutting of trees, what will happen? Eventually the trees, even though the trees are cut and the roots are uprooted or the trees are uprooted, it will loosen the soil because there will not be any tree to hold the soil firmly, right? So therefore, it will, any small rain or anything, a small water flow will just wash away the soil. So therefore, deforestation also causes soil erosion. Next is farming. So improper farming or over farming, because these plants, say for example the rice, wheat and all that is grown, that the roots of those plants are not sufficient to hold the soil firmly because the roots are not that well developed when compared to the tall trees. So therefore, if we convert the lands into a farmland, it can lead to a lot of soil erosion. And next is overgrazing. So there is a grassland that is there. If the cattle continuously graze there and they empty the grasses, and if the grasses are not there, the loosening of the soil will occur. And if the soil loosens, they can easily get washed away by the wind and the water. So therefore, overgrazing by cattle and all that can also lead to soil erosion. So these are the different causes of soil erosion. So in your exam, if they ask write the causes of soil erosion, just write 5 to 6 causes and you can write a explanation under that, which will fetch you 10 marks. So it is a 10-mark question here. So talking about the causes of soil erosion, we can again divide it into two important causes. One is natural causes and man-made causes. Natural causes is heavy rainfall. So heavy rainfall can result in landslides, therefore soil erosion. Next is heavy wind. So heavy winds also can blow away with the top layer of the soil. So therefore soil erosion can be caused by rainfall and heavy winds, which we cannot avoid because it is a natural calamity. Next, man-made causes. As I told you, deforestation, overgrazing, logging and mining, then construction, agricultural practices. All these are the man-made causes of that results in soil erosion. Next, talking about desertification, because this is one term which is important for us to know, because desertification is also a form of land degradation or land use change, right? Because if we continuously cut down the trees, then proper rainfall will not come. And not just that, the fertile topsoil will get lost. So what will remain there? The land will get converted into a desert. So desertification is a land use change here, because soil erosion can lead to desertification. The improper use of land because of deforestation and all that can lead to soil erosion. Soil erosion can lead to desertification. So what is this desertification? So desertification, it is the process by which an area or land becomes even more barren, wherein it will completely lose its fertility and therefore it will be less capable of retaining vegetation and progresses towards becoming a desert. A fertile land will completely become barren and it will become completely dry and it will become a desert. So that particular process is nothing but desertification. So what are the causes of desertification? So there are various natural causes of desertification such as climate, but generally desertification occurs due to anthropogenic activity. So what is anthropogenic activity? It means human activities. So because of human activities also desertification can occur. So some of the human activities or anthropogenic activities that results in desertification are, again here, deforestation, improper or abusive agricultural practices, because of overgrazing, because of over-exploitation of underground water resources. Say for example, for paper industries, we need to grow a lot of trees. These softwood trees, they take up a lot of water, depleting the ground of water level. And also improper digging of bore wells, a lot of bore wells, all that also causes a depletion of the groundwater level. So all this over-exploitation of underground water resources also causes desertification. Next, mining and quarrying, that is mining, extraction of minerals. Quarrying is, that is breaking of stones for building purposes and all that. So all these also results in desertification, or it converts a fertile land into a desert. So this was about the session wherein we studied about the land use change, like how land use, that is the exploitation of land or the overuse of land, can result in soil erosion, can result in desertification, and all that we have studied. In the next coming session, let us concentrate on deforestation in particular. So because this topic is given in your syllabus, it is mentioned in particular in your syllabus, we shall study about the deforestation, and also we shall study in detail the causes and impacts of mining on the environment. So these two topics we will cover in the next coming session. So we shall meet again in the coming session. Thank you.